My name is Latasha Jackson, and I am a 42-year-old black woman who works as a caregiver at a local retirement home. I've always tried to live right and follow God's teachings, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened the day I died, or for the shocking truth Jesus revealed to me about white people. What I learned on the other side shattered everything I thought I knew about race, division, and the deeply rooted lies that keep us apart. I came back with a message that might be hard to hear, but is impossible to ignore. What I saw will challenge everything you've been taught to believe. February 23, 2023, I remember that morning clearly. That morning, I woke early, prayed quietly, and went about my usual routine, caring for the elderly. My schedule was full, but nothing in that ordinary routine prepared me for what was to come. I was driving home after my shift at the retirement home. It was late afternoon, and the sky was overcast from an earlier rain. I had just stopped by the bakery to pick up food for my family when a truck suddenly appeared from the opposite direction. There was a loud, harsh sound, and in a split second my car was hit hard. I remember feeling a jolt, hearing the sound of metal colliding and glass shattering. At that moment, everything slowed down. Almost immediately after the crash, I lost control, not because I felt pain, but because I felt myself leaving my body. I did not experience terror or suffering. Instead, I felt a deep emptiness. I realized that I was no longer in my car. I was looking down at the accident scene from above. I could see the flashing lights of the ambulance, the busy faces of the rescuers, and even my coworker calling my name in distress. But I could not respond. Then, I saw a light that was not like any light I had ever seen on Earth. This light was gentle and warm, and it seemed to come from everywhere at once. It called to me, and I felt an irresistible pull. I started to move toward the light, and as I did, I found myself in a place that was completely different from the hospital scene I had just left behind. That is when I saw him. Standing in the center of that light was Jesus. I knew it was him instantly, not from any grand appearance or wordy explanation, but from the way I felt his presence. I remember falling to what I thought were my knees as I stared at his kind yet serious face. He spoke to me clearly. His voice was firm and direct, and I listened as though every word mattered. "Latasha," he said, "do not be afraid. You have come to a place where I can show you the truth about the world and the lies that have kept my children divided." "Lord, what do you mean by the truth about the world? What lies are you talking about?" Jesus looked at me and said, "The enemy has worked long and hard to keep people from knowing who they truly are. He has used differences in color, history, and background, to separate my children from one another. In particular, many white people have been deceived. They have been made to believe lies about their own identity." "What lies?" I asked softly. "How have they been deceived?" He took my hand and said, "The enemy told them that they must carry guilt for things they did not personally do," Jesus explained. "He made them believe that their past actions, or the actions of their ancestors, make them unworthy. At the same time, he fed them the idea that they must hold on to a false sense of superiority. These two lies have caused them to be confused and lost. They feel both burdened and empty at the same time." I found myself wanting to understand more. "So Lord, you are saying that the feelings of guilt and the false pride that many white people carry are not who they really are? That these feelings are lies planted by the enemy?" "Exactly, Latasha," he replied firmly. "The enemy uses these lies to keep everyone divided. You see, when people focus on differences, when they believe that one race is inherently better or worse, they forget that every person is made in my image. The truth is simple: all my children are equal in my eyes. But the enemy's deception causes pain on all sides." I took a moment to reflect on all I had seen in my life, the injustice, the anger, the sorrow in the eyes of many people. I asked, "Lord, I have seen so much pain in my own community and among those I care for. But I have also seen that many white people seem to be struggling with their own issues. What more can you tell me about what they are going through?" "Many white people have been raised to believe that their history defines them," Jesus said. "They are taught that they must always account for past wrongs. That teaching makes them feel as if they are constantly in debt to others, as if they must prove their worth over and over again. This guilt is not real. It is a lie that has been passed down through generations. It prevents them from embracing the freedom and love that I offer. I tried to picture what he meant in simple terms. So they are not truly evil or unworthy, are they? I asked. No, Latasha, Jesus answered gently. They are also victims of the enemy's deceit. They are led to believe that by focusing on their past mistakes, they are somehow bettering themselves or making up for what was done. In truth, this focus keeps them from seeing the truth of who they really are. They have lost sight of my love for them, and that leaves them with feelings of shame and confusion. I listened, my heart heavy with the understanding that this deception hurt everyone, even those who seem to be in a position of power or privilege. Lord, then what is the solution? How can we break free from these lies? Jesus' eyes softened as he continued. The answer is very simple, Latasha. The enemy's power comes from silence. When people do not speak out against the lies, when they do not share the truth, his deception grows stronger. You have been given the gift of knowing my truth. You must be bold and share this truth with everyone, even if it is not popular or easy. Tell them that no matter what they have been taught, every person is loved and valued by me. I nodded, feeling both the weight and the responsibility of his words. I understand, Lord. I must speak out. But please, help me know exactly what to say, especially when I speak about white people. Many of them do not see the error of the enemy's ways. They feel trapped between guilt and pride, and they may not listen. Jesus reached out once more and squeezed my hand. When you speak, use simple words, just as I am speaking to you now. Tell them that the enemy made them believe in guilt that is not theirs and pride that blinds them to the truth. Tell them that they do not have to be defined by the lies of history. Remind them that you and I are both my children, each one precious and equal. The truth will be a light in their hearts if they are willing to listen. I tried to commit every word to memory. Lord, I have seen so much in my life. I have seen families torn apart by anger and communities divided by suspicion. I have even seen how these lies have taken hold in my own heart sometimes, making me question if I can ever truly be free of pain. How do I help not only others but also myself to overcome these lies? Jesus' face became serious. Latasha, you must begin with yourself. Understand that the enemy's deception affects everyone, but it does not have the final word. When you recognize the truth, that every person is created for love and freedom, you will begin to see that the guilt and false pride are not yours to carry. Only by speaking the truth can you and others break these chains. For a long time, I simply sat there, absorbing his words. I thought about all the times I had felt the sting of injustice and all the moments when I had seen people hurt by words about race. Lord, I said slowly, I have seen that many white people I know are confused. They do not understand why they feel both proud and guilty. They are angry at themselves without knowing why. Is this confusion all part of the enemy's plan? Jesus nodded. Yes, Latasha. The enemy has deliberately created a situation where white people feel as if they are carrying a double burden. They are made to think that their superiority is their identity, while at the same time, they are forced to bear an undeserved guilt for the past. This contradiction keeps them from fully embracing who they are meant to be. In this confusion, they are less likely to see the truth about themselves or about you. And in that state, they become easier to control. I felt a chill at his clear words. I have always believed that history is complicated, but I never understood that it could be used as a tool to keep people from knowing themselves. How do I get past that? How can I help them see the simple truth? Jesus' response was calm and direct. Tell them that the truth is not hidden in complex history or academic debate. It is hidden in the simple fact that every person is a child of God. You must say, you are loved. You are valuable. You do not need to carry guilt that is not yours, and you do not need to feel superior to hide your pain. That is all you need to say. Speak plainly and from your heart. I continued, Lord, I want to tell others that the enemy is using technology and modern ways to further his control. I have seen hints of this in the way people trust gadgets and devices without questioning them. Some are even receiving implants or other things that they do not fully understand. Is this connected to the lies about race and identity? Jesus' expression was serious as he answered, Yes, Latasha. The enemy uses every available tool to distract and control you. Technology is one of those tools. When people focus on convenience and the latest gadget, they forget to ask the hard questions about who they are and why they are divided. These tools make it easier for the enemy to keep the truth hidden. But remember, the truth is simple and free. No device or modern invention can change the simple fact that every person is made in my image. I took a deep breath, realizing that every part of the enemy's plan was connected. So if I help people understand that their identity is not tied to guilt or false pride, then they can break free of these chains, even if it means questioning the conveniences of modern life? Exactly, Jesus replied. Once they understand that their worth is not determined by technology, history, or any human system, they will begin to see that you, me, and every other person are united. They will understand that the differences that have been used to separate you are nothing more than distractions. The truth is in the simple act of loving one another as I have loved you. For a long while, I sat there with Jesus, letting his words sink into every part of my being. I kept thinking about the many white people I knew who felt an inexplicable heaviness in their hearts. Lord, I have seen men and women who wear their pride like a shield, yet underneath that shield, there is deep sorrow. They do not know how to break free from these lies. What more can I tell them so that they can see the truth for themselves? Jesus looked at me with unwavering kindness. Tell them that it is not enough to simply follow what is taught. They must ask questions and look within themselves. They must learn that the enemy's lies are designed to keep them from understanding that every person is needed, every person is important, and every person is free. When they begin to ask, "Who am I really?" they will discover that the answers are far simpler than the stories they have been told. I nodded slowly, remembering times when I myself had doubted my worth. Lord, sometimes I feel like I am not enough, like I am too broken by all the hurt I have seen. How do I overcome that and truly stand in my truth? Jesus' voice was gentle but unwavering. Latasha, you were created with a purpose, and no one can take that away from you. Every scar, every moment of pain, is not a sign of weakness but a reminder that you are alive and that you have the strength to speak the truth. The enemy wants you to feel small so that you do not dare to stand up. But know this, your life, your voice, and your testimony are all part of the plan to bring truth into the darkness. When you speak, speak with the full weight of your experience. Tell them, I have seen the truth, and I know that I am loved exactly as I am. I felt tears coming to my eyes as I absorbed his simple, clear words. Lord, I promise to speak this truth. I promise to tell everyone that I have seen you and that you have shown me a way to overcome these divisions. But I need your help every day. I need you to remind me that my message is not one of anger, but one of hope and unity. Jesus smiled softly. I will always be with you, Latasha. Every time you feel afraid or unsure, remember that you carry my truth within you. And when you speak for all my children, whether they are black, white, or any other color. The enemy's lies work on both sides, and only through the truth can you set everyone free. For what felt like hours, I remained in that space with Jesus. We spoke back and forth, and I asked more questions. I asked about the ways in which the enemy planned to keep the deception alive. I asked, Lord, how can I be sure that my words will reach those who need to hear them? What if they dismiss me as just another voice in the wind? Jesus answered plainly, not everyone will listen, Latasha, but those who are meant to hear will recognize my voice when they do. The truth will always find a way through the noise. Your role is to be persistent, to be honest, and to be kind. Do not worry if many choose to remain in the dark. Your task is to plant the seed of truth, and in time, those seeds will grow. I pressed on, and what of those who are already confused by their history? Many white people carry a burden they do not understand. They have been taught that their identity is tied to the wrongs of the past. How can I help them see that they are not defined by these mistakes? Jesus' eyes were steady as he explained, tell them that the past is a lesson, not a chain. They do not have to bear the weight of history as a personal burden. Explain that while history is important, it does not determine their future. Their future is written in the choices they make now. Encourage them to choose love and truth over guilt and denial. Remind them that their identity is not fixed by old stories, but is alive in the truth of who they are today. I felt a deep sense of relief in his words, yet I also felt the responsibility of carrying this message into a world that might not be ready. Lord, I know that this message is hard for many to accept. I have seen people get angry when I try to explain it. What should I do when I face such resistance? Speak calmly, Latasha. Do not let anger take hold of you even if others do. The truth is not something that can be forced upon someone. It must be accepted freely. When you encounter resistance, simply restate the facts, that every person is made in my image, that no one should feel superior or burdened by guilt that is not theirs. The resistance is part of the enemy's plan to keep you divided. But do not lose heart. Your persistence is the key that will eventually unlock the truth in others. I remember feeling both empowered and deeply humbled by these words. I asked, Lord, please help me remember this when I go back to my life on earth. I want to be a light for those who are lost in the lies, especially for those white people who do not see the truth about themselves. I want them to know that guilt and false pride are traps that the enemy set up so that no one can be free. Jesus replied, every time you feel uncertain, come back to this place in your heart where you know the truth. You will always have a safe space here with me, where you remember that you are free. And when you speak to others, remind them that freedom is not given by the world, but by understanding who they truly are. That is your mission, and I trust you to carry it well. I sat there listening, my heart beating slowly as I committed his words to memory. Our conversation went on for what felt like a long time, and every question I asked was met with simple, clear answers. I learned that the enemy's plan was not just to separate people by race, but to trap everyone in a cycle of silence and misunderstanding. Lord, I said, I see now that the lies have hurt everyone. I see that both black and white people are trapped in this deception. Is it possible then that by sharing your truth, we can truly begin to heal? Jesus' answer was as simple as it was powerful. Yes, Latasha. When you speak the truth, you help others to see that the enemy's plan is a lie. You help them understand that no one is meant to live in fear or in shame. All my children deserve to live in the light of love and understanding. And the more you share, the more the truth will spread. Some may reject it, but many will find hope. I kept asking questions about the role of education, about how technology played a part in keeping people divided, about how even simple acts of kindness could break down the enemy's strongholds. Every time, Jesus gave me straightforward answers. I learned that the enemy was not a single person or a single group, but a system of lies that affected every part of society. He explained that while many white people might seem to have it all together, they were often wrestling with a hidden pain, a pain that came from believing in a version of themselves that was built on guilt and a false sense of superiority. Latasha, Jesus said one moment, when you see someone who is acting out of anger or confusion, remember that they are caught in the trap of the enemy's lies. They do not see that you are speaking out of love. It is not your job to fix them overnight, but to simply share the truth and let the truth work its way into their hearts. I remember nodding slowly, trying to commit every word to memory. I will do that, Lord. I will speak with kindness and truth. I will remind everyone that our true worth comes not from history or technology, but from knowing that we are loved by you. Jesus' tone grew more earnest. And remember, Latasha, that you are never alone. Even when you return to your life on earth, I will be with you. Every time you feel overwhelmed by the resistance or the pain that surrounds you, close your eyes and remember this conversation. Remember that you are free and that you carry the truth inside you. That truth is stronger than any lie the enemy can tell. I sat in that radiant place for what felt like an eternity, absorbing the simple, clear answers Jesus was giving me about the state of the world. I learned that white people are not meant to be condemned by their past, nor are black people meant to bear the weight of injustice in isolation. Instead, every person is caught up in the enemy's plan to keep us divided. Lord, I asked once more, how do I make sure that my message does not turn into more division? How can I reach out to those who feel lost on both sides? Jesus answered without hesitation, you speak only the truth, Latasha. You remind them that every person is made in my image. You tell them that the division they feel is not real, it is a lie. Your words will help them see that their true identity is found in love and in freedom. And when they understand that, they will no longer be controlled by feelings of guilt or superiority. They will begin to work together to build a better world. I felt a deep calm as his words echoed in my mind. I promised him that I would do everything I could to share this message. Lord, I promise. I promise to tell everyone what I have learned here. I promise to remind people that our differences are not a cause for hatred, but a call for unity. I promise to let my voice be one of truth. Jesus' eyes shone with quiet determination. That is all I ask, Latasha. Go forth with my love and my truth. Teach others that the enemy's lies can be undone with simple, honest words. Tell them that the power of truth will always overcome the power of deception. For the bulk of my time in that place, our conversation continued along these lines. We spoke at length about every detail, the way in which everyday actions, no matter how small, can help dismantle the enemy's plans, the importance of using plain, honest language when discussing topics as serious as identity and history, and the need for everyone to recognize that the feelings of guilt, confusion, and false pride are not parts of their true selves, but are imposed upon them by forces that do not want them to be free. I asked Jesus about the future. Lord, will there come a time when people no longer need to fight these lies? When will every person know that their worth is not tied to a history of guilt or a false sense of pride? He answered slowly, that day will come when enough of my children have embraced the truth. But until then, you must continue to speak out. Even if your voice is not heard by everyone, it will be heard by those who are truly searching for answers. The truth is not measured by the number of people who immediately accept it, but by the strength it gives to those who need to be set free. I kept asking questions, each time receiving clear, simple answers. I learned that the enemy uses every new technology and every new convenience to distract people from this simple truth. Lord, I said, I see that many white people rely on things that promise them ease and comfort. They believe these things are harmless. How do I make them understand that these comforts might be part of the problem? Jesus explained plainly, tell them that while convenience is not a sin, it can be a tool for the enemy if it replaces thoughtful living and self-examination. When people stop asking questions and start accepting everything as it comes, they give up their ability to choose the truth. Remind them that nothing in this world should come before the simple truth of who they are and the freedom that comes from understanding it. His words were direct and left no room for doubt. I asked, Lord, if I use these words and speak the truth, will I be able to help even one person see past the lies? Jesus replied, even if one person hears your words and begins to question what they have always believed, you have done something important. Every single life changed by truth is a victory against the enemy's plan. I sat for a long time in that space, recording every detail of our conversation in my heart. I knew that my time there was not meant to last forever. Even though I did not want to leave, I felt the gentle pull back toward my earthly body. The conversation had been long and filled with many clear instructions on how to share the truth about the enemy's deception. I remember Jesus' final words in that place, Latasha, go now. Return to your life with this truth in your heart. Speak plainly, love deeply, and do not fear the resistance. The enemy thrives on silence, and your voice will be the key to breaking his hold. That was the bulk of my experience, the long, unhurried conversation with Jesus about the lies that have divided people, especially about the way white people have been misled into carrying guilt and pride that are not their own. I spent nearly all of that time learning how to speak the truth in simple words, how to remind people that every human being is valuable, and that the differences they cling to are not what I or Jesus intended. Before I knew it, I felt the pull returning me to my body. I briefly remember the sensation of coming back into the physical world, the beeping of machines, the murmur of voices, and then the realization that I was alive. But that return is only a small part of what happened that day. The true impact was in the conversation I had with Jesus in that space beyond life, a conversation that changed everything for me and that I must now share with everyone. I returned to my body with a new understanding. I know now that every time I speak, I have the chance to challenge the lies that keep people divided. I know that many white people, as well as people of all colors, are caught in a web of false beliefs that make them feel both unworthy and overly burdened by guilt. I understand that the enemy's goal is to silence the truth so that no one dares to speak out. I have since made it my mission to share this message with everyone I meet. I remind my fellow caregivers, my friends, and even strangers that the enemy's deception is strong but not unbeatable. I tell them plainly, I have seen Jesus, and he told me that every person is made in God's image. You do not have to carry guilt that is not yours, and you do not have to hide behind false pride. Our true identity is in the love and truth that God gives us. My life is different now. Every day, I work with people who have suffered, and I remind them of this truth. I also speak with many white friends and acquaintances who tell me that they have felt the weight of guilt and the pain of conflicting messages about their identity. I tell them, you are not defined by a past that is not yours to bear. The enemy's lies are meant to divide you. Listen to the truth. You are loved just as much as anyone else, and you deserve to live in freedom. I continue to pray every day for strength to share this message in simple, honest words. I remind myself of Jesus' clear instructions, that even if many do not listen at first, the truth will eventually shine through. The conversation I had with him will always be my guide. His words are engraved in my heart, and every time I feel doubt or fear, I recall the calm, plain language with which he explained everything. Even now, as I speak to groups and write down my testimony, I focus on that conversation. I spend most of my time telling people about what Jesus said, that the enemy uses differences to keep us apart, and that many white people are trapped in a lie that makes them feel both guilty and superior. I explain that this is not who they are meant to be. I tell them that their true identity is found in knowing that they are all children of God. I end my testimony with a plea, let us not allow the enemy to win by keeping us silent. Whether you are black, white, or any other color, know that the truth is simple. It is not complicated by history, technology, or false teachings. It is simply this: you are loved, you are equal, and you are free to live in the light of God's truth. I urge you to listen, to question, and to seek the truth for yourself. Do not let the false burdens of guilt or the empty pride of superiority keep you from knowing who you really are. I have seen the truth with my own eyes. I have heard Jesus say that every person is valuable and that the enemy's lies are meant to control you. Please, take this message to heart. Allow it to remind you that the simple truth, that you are loved and that all of us share the same Creator, is the only truth that matters. Remember, the enemy's plan relies on your silence.